for doing this again.
My dear friend, I love being on with you. You kidding? I wish we were doing it together in the same spot. That'd be
I,
great.
you know, we only met each other on Zoom. We chat on Instagram, but I
Yes.
feel like you're a treasured friend. I really
Oh,
do.
likewise. Thank you. God bless you. Thank
You
you.
you are such a lovely and generous and
Oh,
you have such a warm heart
oh,
and you're so open.
thank you, God. Thank you,
T-
dear.
tell me, we were just talking about what happened this morning. You got up at 5:30 this morning. Tell
Yeah,
us what happened when you
I
woke
got
up.
up at 5:30 unexpectedly, and hey, you know the routine. I ran to the bathroom.
What else? Hello.
What else? I came back in the room. I put on Turner Classic Movie just to relax a little bit, want to go back to sleep.
Yeah,
And they're doing a 2 hour special on the life of Dean Martin, right?
right.
So what did I know? They're going through. It's about halfway through, and I see him doing a skit. Probably I want to say 1960, 61. Who's the guy in the skit with Martin? Is Norman Lear. You know, pudgy, nice face, a little bit balding already, but dark hair. And I'm going, oh my God, it's Norman Lear. So I finally go back to sleep. I get up a couple hours later. I'm looking at my Twitter. It says Norman Lear, 100 years old. And
101.
101. I said to myself, too spooky. Too spooky. I get, this happens to me a lot. I've been doing this since I'm a little kid. Like I'll think of someone and then somebody will tell me something about them a couple of hours later or a day later. And I'm going like, yeah, gee, I think I knew that. Very weird.
I believe in all that stuff.
Oh man, very weird, but it's there.
So I don't think of you as like being a comedy enthusiast, although I did, since the last time we met, I did watch Dearly Beloved, which is a
Okay.
comedy. I mean,
Yeah, it's a
it's
comedy, right?
fantastic.
That's
The
funny you
first thing
said
you
that.
did is a
Because I'm going to tell
comedy.
you, I'm gonna redo it in the spring. It's going to be the long version,
Wow,
and it is comedic, but it's also, it's a bit of a tearjerker. But
it
I have so
is.
many friends that own funeral homes that I'm not without a story to shoot. Believe me,
Okay, but this kills me because you lost Tony Sirico since you
we
made
did a
that
year
film.
ago, July. Yeah, that's right.
And okay, so we're going to talk about all of this, but how did you meet Tony?
Tony, I met in a place called Mary Lou's on West 9th Street, right off
I
the.
loved Mary
Ah, you
Lou's.
go. You go down 3 steps, right? Okay. So
The
I
bar on the
walk in.
right. Yeah.
Yep, I walk in on a Thursday night back in '92, Vicky. Summertime. It was his birthday. I didn't even know the guy. I walk in, I recognize this guy from a couple of movies.
And you're
Got,
not an actor. Are
huh? No,
you're not an actor.
I was at NYU at night taking some film courses, but I had already started studying with Michael Moriarty, the actor. Okay. So I walked in, he spots me from across the restaurant. I go, well, yeah, you an actor? I said, no. Well, I'm trying, put it that way. Sit over here. It was his birthday, his 50th birthday. They had a big cake. It's Sofia Coppola. It's Kathy Scorsese and
Wow.
Willem Dafoe. And
Ah,
they're wishing him a happy. I'm going, where the fuck did I just like? Excuse the language anyway.
that's quite all
He
right.
said to me, "I'm here every Thursday night. You come every Thursday night. You sit with me." Like we're in prison. But, well, okay. I went home. I said to Maureen, "You know that actor? Yeah, yeah. I met him tonight. Tell me to come in every Thursday night. We're going to be good." What happened was Jimmy Gandolfini walked in a few months later. And it was always like, hey, how you doing? Hello, how are you? And I recognized him from a couple of things he did.
Now, did Tony and Jimmy know each other?
Barely, barely. Jimmy was a very quiet guy. So what happened was, Vicky, that in '98, which is 6 years after I started hanging out in Mary Lou's, I get cast for the first season, one episode, one. And you have to go to the table read. So I go to the table, read at the appointed time, and you got to read the whole script. Everybody reads it. And Jimmy's sitting at the front of the table with David Chase. So I went, Jimmy, what are you doing? He says, I play Tony Soprano. This was already episode 6. I said, I see you every couple. You never mentioned they gave you a show. I to God. I was in shock. Little did I know I was going to have scenes with him. Besides, that's how
Wow.
quiet this guy was.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, like eerie quiet.
And I know that David barely spoke to you, like, unless you were going to die. So did he say anything to you like
No,
that?
no, not a word. We had, when I spoke to him, it's funny. It's funny. Last month they inducted him into the New Jersey Hall of Fame.
I saw the
And
pictures.
I showed up and they sent the car, nice people, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you came to see me? I said, yeah, you changed my fucking life. Of course I came to see you. Oh, that's so beautiful. But no, we never had a real conversation. And I started
Never, ever?
Not beyond. So how are you? How do you feel? What's new? How's your wife? That kind of nothing, and nothing like you take meat out of the nut, and nothing like that. No. Wow. They never told me what to do. Never told me what they thought the character should be like, ever. And,
so all right, we're going to go back and how you started acting, but so where did you get Johnny Sack? Because we've talked about this before. I taught acting. I'm a failed actress, but I was a pretty good drama teacher. But I want to take you. I really want to take your workshop. Are you still doing it on Zoom?
Yeah, every Thursday night, Vicki Abelson will send you the link.
I really want to do. What time do you do it?
7 to around 9:30 Eastern Standard Time.
I secretary a meeting, but I really want to do it. But what really gets me about you, I have never caught you acting. Not for 1 second do I ever catch you acting.
That is the best compliment I've ever gotten, my dear. Thank you.
And you are not classically trained.
No.
All right. So how did you come to this class with Michael Moriarty? Because that's a pretty funny story too.
I wanted, Maureen had said to me, my wife, for many years, she said, you're always watching these greats. And I'm going back to Luther Adler. You remember him? Edward G. Robinson. I'm going back to guys that could really take a scene and chew it up, right? And watch all the others. She said, you love this stuff. She said, you could do this. I said, Maureen, stop. I'm running the masonry business. I got to bid all the time. I got to make sure the guys are doing it right. I said, I did, forget about it. No way. She said, listen, my birthday's coming up. She said, this guy, Michael Moriarty has an acting class. Why don't you go? I said, I can't just show up. What would I do there? I don't even know. What do you do? What do you go there? So she called and he said, oh, yeah, send him in. Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, I went. I sat there, Vicki. I went there for 5 weeks. I didn't say a word. 5 Wednesdays. Finally, the 6th Wednesday, he said to me, you're going to say something? You're going to do something? I said, yeah, all right. And I started talking about what it was like to find a fucking parking space around your fucking house. He went wild.
Now, are you taking it while you're sitting there and listening all those weeks? Are you soaking it up? Or I'm
soaking up the fact that I was watching probably 25 other people act instead of be.
But Michael's not that way. No.
Michael inhabits like there's no, for an
Was he busting them?
I'm sorry?
Was he busting them for acting?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure, he would. But, his notes used to last about a minute and a half, Vicki. I don't do that. When they're studying with me, I shoot them up 10, 15 minutes till I get it right. I've got OCD. I'm a taskmaster, But the things that this guy is an Irish guy. I mean, he won an Emmy for that series, The Holocaust, where he played a Nazi.
Oh, yeah.
He hardly spoke, but it just radiated, See, that's why I hate the word acting. I tell my students I don't like the freaking word. I like the word being. We can all act, but can you be the character? Can we go there? That's
how did you know that? Who were you here when you were watching those Turner Classic Movies back in the day?
Right.
Who I mean, Edward G. whatever.
Paul Muni.
People
like Paul Muni. People like Edwin Arnold, the big, heavy character. You've seen him. You probably don't recognize the name of the. And these guys were you could see it. They were convinced. They were convinced that they were those characters. They weren't playing the character. And there's a word that we don't allow at the show, at the workshop. The word is to portray or to perform. We don't use those words. I put you in timeout if I hear you use that word. I'm serious. I do. I got a time. Oh, absolutely. I got a big house. Go stand over there. You get out of my sight. You pissed me off just now.
So now you have people that are coming to do it live, and then you have other people that are doing it.
I have 12 that are really handpicked and select, and they've been with me over 7 years.
And wait, and they're doing it live in your house?
They do it live in the house. The rest are all on Zoom. But this coming, Vicki, this coming spring, as I said to you, I'm going to extend Dearly Beloved. Several of them have part. One of them happens to be a cinematographer who was nominated for a commercial Emmy this past year. He started studying acting with me 2 years ago. So I've got a built-in crew. I'm going to do the John Cassavetes thing. Like, here's the camera. Here's the
You're going to go guerrilla?
Oh, heavily. Heavily. Because I love it. I love it.
So now Tony Sirrico had like a juicy role in that.
And Dearly Beloved, yeah, poor guy, he did. And you know something? I give him credit for getting on an embalming table in a funeral home in Brooklyn. I would not have done it. But I have been on an autopsy table and in the refrigerator. Yeah.
No.
Oh, absolutely. Look up Killing Them Softly. A movie I did with Jimmy, Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Sam Shepard. Yeah.
I know that movie.
Oh, you just.
I have to rewatch that.
You'll see what happens. And yeah, I was on a table for a long time, hours and hours.
Oh my God.
They put me in the refrigerator 3 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was 2 months to make that film in New Orleans.
Oh my Lord, I can't.
So I said to myself, if I'm going to be dead, how do you play dead? You don't play dead. Just try and stop thinking. That's not easy.
Okay, so how did this innate, I'm not going to act, I'm going to be.
Okay. Thank you for asking me that. This goes back, Vicki, to my childhood when I'm like an empath, and I was 5 years old. And I was, my mother would greet someone. My mother was a great businesswoman. And she would greet someone, so brightly and whatever. And I'd say to her later on, but Mommy, you told me the other day that woman is evil. And she's bad, and she's a bad payer, and and you were so nice to her. She said, yeah, I was nice to her. She'll be back and she'll spend more. And I realized swear to God, I realized what acting was. Wow. And even people who said to me as a kid, oh, Vincent, how are you? Oh, you look so good. Oh, how's everything? You're a great little boy. And then they would turn their head and talk to somebody about, oh, that scumbag with that gas station. Nah, I hate that son of a bitch. I'm going, I thought you were a nice person. You smell it, you feel it right away, don't you? And that's where I came into the idea that hopefully, if I ever got into this profession, I'd have to go dig down pretty deep to pull the character out because I didn't want to put him on my face. I love Pacino because whatever Pacino's thinking, you see it in his eyes. I also love De Niro, but De Niro, I think, paints it on, where Pacino comes from inside out.
I think in these recent years, both of them
jumped the shark.
Yeah,
I know. It's money.
It's painful to watch sometimes.
I agree with you. I most definitely agree with you. But it's funny you mentioned about catching people act. We were at the Emmys, and we won it several times. And one of the times, it was our last Emmy before we went off the air, that Helen Mirren was the presenter. And so at the after party, at HBO's after party, she was there. And, she's married to the great director, Taylor Hackford. So he walked up to me. Oh, my man. He said, I love your character, son of a bitch, Ginny Sack. That's great. I'm looking over at his wife while he's talking to me. So I said to him, would you mind if I go over and say hello to her? He said, absolutely, go ahead. And she so warmly grabbed my hand in both of her hands. She said, oh, Vincent, blah, blah, blah. I said, I have to tell you, I've tried. I've got to admit that I've tried to catch you acting, but I never could. She said, nobody ever said that to me before. And you're the only one who's ever said it to me tonight.
Woo-hoo!
And I appreciate that to no end. You have no idea.
What's the
But there are
truth?
certain people, you watch them, you go, yeah, shit, that is the character. That's not a paint job.
You know who a great actor who Peter O'Toole.
Oh, we met him.
Even though he was of that era where people were over the top,
Yeah,
because I'm thinking of like Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas, who were great, right?
yeah, yeah.
But you could see them acting all over
Oh,
the
yeah, they were
place.
big. They were very big.
All
They
over the
were
place, right?
yeah, yeah.
But if I think about Peter O'Toole,
I got it.
right?
I got it. Now, let me tell you something. We met him years ago with Dominic Chianese. He's a new friend I didn't
Oh,
know. Met him, love him. And such a mild mannered. We met him. He had to be already, he was 80 when we met him. Anyway, but you know something? I say this all the time, and I tell my students, watch English film, watch English actors. I don't know why, but they bury us in a lot of ways. Their ease of delivery, the fact that they're completely invested in a character, it's scary. Like,
except you know what? I went to the theater in London I went to London for the first time this
I got to
past
go there
year.
too, Vicki. I do.
And I'm telling you, Vincent, though, give me Broadway any day of the week.
Yeah, no, I got that.
There's no
Yeah, they're a
comparison.
different animal. When they approach a role, they're a much different animal on film.
Yeah,
And
on film. Yes,
oh
I
yeah,
think
but
you're
I got to
right.
tell you, yes, I agree with you on that. I do, Vicki. The thing is that it's also a fact that in England they'll hold the camera on an actor much longer. We have a tendency here to cut, and we're like, whoa, whoa, man! I just got into this guy. Where are we going? Now he's in another room, or you left him. They do it differently over there, and those actors are able to, what's the word, simmer and percolate a little better than we are, than the opportunity that we give. But anyway,
And I think probably they don't have the pressure with the money, with
no, they
the
don't.
seconds of the camera, the
No,
film
no, they
time
don't.
and
No, no,
right. So they
no.
give them more time.
They
Okay,
give them.
so you were not an actor at all, like
No, I
no
did
school
nothing. No,
plays, none of
no,
that stuff.
no, no.
So, but you had the passion because you love movies? Was that where it
I
came
loved,
from?
yeah, I loved the movies. I loved the fact that these guys could make you think. I mean, they could make you cry. They could make you be very happy. They could make you extremely pensive by the way they would inhabit a character. And I said to myself, what a way to, instead of writing a novel or painting a picture, I could paint the picture a different way with just with my body and my voice. I would love to do that. And that's what I really relish. I relish the fact that, I become different characters just in my house. Where, yeah, I scare the hell out of my wife because, you know, she'll ask me something like, "What do you want? Do you want iced tea with dinner, or what do you want? Coke, iced tea?" I said, "Why'd you talk to me like that? You talk to me like I'm stupid. I'm not fucking stupid. You understand what I tell you? If you don't understand me, I'll go get somebody to fucking interpret, right?" Then she goes to me, "Cut it out. I asked you what fucking iced tea." But I do different characters.
Okay, so now how did you and Maureen meet? When you've been together
We
forever?
met 1981, Vicki. We met 1981. Maureen was in a place in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, which is right by Manhattan, having dinner with one of her five brothers. Five of them. One girl, five guys. You believe this? Anyway. So I'm standing there. I'm having, believe it or not, a club soda. It's very early in the evening. I was going to meet some friends. They were sitting there. I don't know why. We just started talking. We started talking. We exchanged telephone numbers. And in those days, you didn't have a cell phone. So if you weren't home to answer the phone, you weren't home to answer the phone. I didn't even have an answering machine. What happened was, Vicki, I lost her phone number. She lost mine. So 4 months, maybe 5 months later, I'm driving in Fort Lee by the George Washington Bridge. I see this girl get out of the car and run into a 7-Eleven. Oh, shit, this girl looks familiar. Is that her? But I couldn't wait. I pulled over. I left a note. I put it on when my remember me, blah, 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 and I put my phone number. And she called me the next day. We got married 7 months later.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
7 months later. It was one of those things. It was either, yeah, let's do it. Fuck it. And that's
Okay, so now let's talk about, I think it's really fascinating and wonderful. One of the things that was so brilliant about Johnny Sack is how devoted, right, he is to his wife. It's like he's so like here's
I
this
know.
gangster, and yet he's so tender and loving and loyal. And you are that way with your wife in life. And I'm thinking, like, did you create Johnny Sack in your image that way?
No, I have to. That's another great question. You got a talent for asking great ones. You really do.
Thank
The
you.
writing, Vicki, was so specific, and you didn't have to really do a hell of a lot with regard to mentation or what's he thinking, what's he feeling, the fact that he was devoted to his wife is something that was so extremely well written.
Mm.
That it would have been hard for me to go off the cliff with it, because our writers they were eerie. They just knew.
But I thought Johnny Sack wasn't even like, Johnny Sack was like a one-shot deal, right?
Yeah, in the beginning, sure. In the one episode for a season. They brought me back more in the second, hell of a lot more in the third, made me a series regular, and I went all the way through. But the thing with the wife is that supposedly she was a skinny, beautiful dancer. She blew her knees out. She gained a lot of weight, and he loves it to no end. But it was all written, and I'm going to tell you something. I think she's gone now 10 years, this girl who played it. She died of cancer. A complete untaught girl. She had never,
Wow.
nothing, zero. Okay. So then when they brought in Sydney Pollack.
Ginny. Was Ginny her name?
Yeah, Ginny.
Ginny, yeah.
They brought in Sydney Pollack to do a scene with me while I'm dying. And I look at the script and I go, oh shit. She's got a scene in the hallway of the hospital with Sydney fucking Pollack. What's going to happen? But he, such a pro that he was. He walked her right through it,
Wow.
He could smell it. He could smell it, but he walked her right through it.
Wow.
I was like, hey, what's going to happen? Because she had nothing. She had zero training. And she didn't want it. She was the type you couldn't tell her anything. She wouldn't take it.
But I'm wondering if the writers watched you and your relationship with Maureen, and if that might have reflected back to them. I don't know,
but I remember we were at some function in Manhattan, Vicki, and David walked up to Maureen. David Chase walked up to Maureen. He said to her, we're getting to my wife, but she doesn't look anything like you.
That's
he turned around, he walked away, and she told me later, do you know you're getting a wife? No, who told you this? She said, David, sure enough, a couple of scripts later, bing, there's a wife. I didn't know.
Wow.
The fact that I almost, go ahead.
No, you finish.
The fact that I almost had a guy killed over a remark, that was a whole storyline in and of itself.
What's that? That
I wanted Ralphie killed because he made a joke about having a 90-pound mole.
Oh my Lord.
That was, to this day, I'm on Cameo. There isn't a day that goes by that one of those Cameo requests doesn't mention Ginny's 90-pound mole. It's amazing.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Wow. Jenny's 90-pound mole.
Yeah, Ginny's 90-pound mole. She could tip over the state of New Jersey if she shifts her weight, all kinds of stuff. Her blood type was ragu,
God. Oh my Lord. So okay, so you're not in the business of show. You're completely doing other things. You're a mason? Is that what you're called?
No, I never did the work.
No.
I owned a masonry company.
You own a masonry company.
I followed my father's footsteps. He had a very big company. I started on my own, had a very small company. And I'm very pragmatic. I'm very practical. And, I didn't want to go audition for this or that. I said to myself, no, Mrs. Smith called. She needs a new retaining wall. Let me go give her a price. Maybe I'll get the work. This was not on my radar at all. It really wasn't. My wife pushed, she pushed, she pushed. Finally, I said, I'm going to study. I'll go once a week, Maureen. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. So nothing, I wrote Dearly Beloved because of it. So at least I could do something.
So no, how did you do that? I mean, you're not trained to write a screenplay.
I know.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I was always fascinated with the funeral business. I almost went into it at 18 years of age. And it's just kind of fascinated me. I said to myself, I know a lot of things go on in those places that you'll never know about. Some of it is dark and some of it is, unfortunately comical. And it is. And I do have friends who grew up in the business, whose families they now own homes. So the material is never ending, never ending. And actually, I only wrote it as a 5-minute script because Moriarty said, I want all of you to write something that lasts for 5 minutes. Okay. So I wrote a script, a 5-minute skit about a funeral director. It turned into a larger script. Then I found somebody who said, I'll put some money up with you. I'll direct it. Okay. And that's how it went along. And you know who wanted it? The guy that does all the housewife shows. I forgot his name, young guy with short hair. And he brings them in for comments later. He wanted it for Bravo. He wanted to buy Dearly Beloved a long time ago. I said, no, you're not buying it. Nobody's buying it. I'll do something with it someday. And now I'm at the point where I want to make it bigger.
Well, so now okay, so you've taken some classes.
Yeah.
You've taken you're taking a few film classes.
Yeah.
Make a movie. So how do you get the budget? How do you put it together? How do you know how to do this?
The same way that I knew how much concrete and steel would go into a foundation of a small building and how long it would take and how much I would have to bid to make money. That's how I came up with the budget for Dearly Beloved. I just used the same metrics. Yeah. And
how'd you raise the money?
Well, it was out of my pocket and out of the director's pocket. We did it out of our pocket at the time, actually. I think in 94, I spent myself about $14,000. That was good money back then.
You were able to make a film for $14,000?
Well, 28, 30,000. The other guy had the other half. Yeah.
Wow.
We shot in 16 millimeter color, transferred it over to an Avid, put it on video. Now that it's on YouTube, I don't even have to put copies on it. I just tell people to go to YouTube and watch. But I don't know how it happened. We shot it in 6 days in Brooklyn. We got all of our locations for $1. But that the funeral home was actually owned by a real guy, in Brooklyn. So he was like sympathetic to it. This is all before Sopranos.
Right.
So, it was like, I don't know. I've always had this yen to make it bigger, and I'm going to do it. In fact, I'm with Buchwald. I told my agent yesterday, I said, listen, I love that you submit me, but I get bored, so I'm going to start doing my own work. The same way that Jason Alexander did an interview recently where he said, I think the era of waiting around for your agent to call you with a gig is probably over.
Mm-hmm.
Do your
I
own
interviewed
work.
Jason a few months ago. Yeah, he just directed a show on Broadway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's right about let's do our own work. Cassavetes did it. A lot of people did it.
I think he even talked about it that day.
Yes, I'm sure he did because he's a champion of this. And it's hey, listen, you don't do it for yourself. Who's going to do for you?
You're looking at somebody who's got her own internet talk show. Because nobody will put me on the air, Vincent.
Right, and well, let me tell you something. Listen to me. You have a way with people. You have a way with people I don't have. I don't know. I can't sit and listen unless they really, I don't know what it is. But you're not only are you polite. I mean, just polite. You're inquisitive, but you're honestly inquisitive, and that's what makes the show.
Thank you.
You ask questions that make sense, not bullshit.
Thank you. So, all right. So you want to do it bigger?
Yeah.
Or are you going to Now, was it your grandfather who played the bartender?
No, no, no. That was an actor, a friend of mine, Tony Rigo.
Oh,
No, it wasn't. No, it was not.
because it's
Um,
written in the YouTube thing. My
yeah,
grandfather.
it says no. It says that this kid, Anthony, what's his name? He said this is my grandfather's movie, meaning my grandfather was in the movie. I never gave permission
Oh,
for this thing to be posted. Now I don't give a damn because it's easy. I don't have to give out copies. This
I
kid's talking
see.
about his grandfather, Tony Rigo, who I had cast as Sirrico's father.
I see. Now,
Yeah.
did you ever have a gambling issue?
Oh no, thank God, no. I know every
Mhm.
penny where it is when it came in. I know. No, thank God, no. Never.
You before we came on the air, you were going to tell me how the mafia got its name.
Oh, okay. Very simply. Um, Actually, the year was 1472 in Sicily. The Sicilian people were
Mhm.
tired of being invaded. They were invaded by North Africans. They were invaded by the French, the Greeks, the Turks. And I mean, when I say invaded, plundered, their women were taken, their property was taken, whatever. The French especially did a number of it. They came up with 5 initials: Morta alla Francia, something Indipendente all'Italia. I don't know, something like that. Meaning death to the French, independence of, I forgot what the last letter was. People think it's a word, people think it's a name. It's none of those things. 5 initials. It was formed to protect themselves because the Italian government, sitting in Rome, couldn't give a damn about Sicily. It's not like you can call the police, they're going to come and help you. They had to start it. Of course, we all know it morphed into something much different,
Mhm.
but that
So
was it.
now, were any of your people part of this deal thing? Because I know you're part Sicilian, part Calabrese, and you were also telling me that it's not the Sicilians you have to worry about, right?
It's a
It's the
Calabrese.
Calabreses.
Calabrese is much colder, much colder, much colder. You know what? I guess if you go back far enough, we'll find them. I don't know, but
Mhm.
I'm Italian.
But did you grow up with that? Did you grow
No,
up in
no, my
that? No.
father was adamant. I was a little kid watching the television series The Untouchables with Robert Stack.
Mhm.
My father got very upset, came in the room, said, "Shut it off. What's the matter?" He said, "That's not us, and I don't want you to see that." And my father was native Italian. He came here when he was 19. A few months later, in 1941, a few months later, he was drafted into the infantry. Never went back to Italy, had no desire, none whatsoever. And my father, he built a big home in Englewood, New Jersey. And when I would be on the side lawn, big corner property, and he'd come home from his job sites, he would holler at me. He'd be 6, 7 years old. "Vincent, what are you doing?" "What do you mean, Dad? What am I? I'm playing on the lawn. What is it?" "Go on the other side of the house." "Why?" "People see you over here from the street." "Yeah." Kidnapping in Italy is an industry. He was
Wow.
paranoid, my father. That is actually a business. Yeah.
Wow.
And he came from it, and no, he was an all American. My mom was all American. My grandparents, same thing. And they came from there when they were young, but this was America. I had a guy from the Washington Post interview me a few years ago, Vicki. And he said to me, "Well, you being an Italian American," so let me stop you there. I'm an American. I'm not an Italian American. My father was an Italian American. I'm not. I'm an
Mhm.
American, very proud of my Italian heritage. But let's stop with I'm not. Oh, because, so many of them complain about the image that Soprano. I said, well, change the fucking channel. Really, somebody got a gun to your head? Excuse the pun. Tell you to watch the damn thing? No. So what are we complaining about?
Did
Speaking
your
of,
father live to see The Sopranos?
oh yeah, my father
And
was
how did he feel about it? And how did
60.
was he proud of you?
He was proud that I was acting. I don't think that I got to be honest with you. I don't think the subject matter interested him really at all. It was the fact that I was doing what I know I wanted to always do. I mean, I could have
Mhm.
been an executive, playing an executive at Enron. It would not have mattered to him. It's just the fact that I had gotten to that point that made him very proud. Yeah. And then, of
Uh,
course, he met when he was introduced to Chase, um, and he said, "Mr. Curatola, how are you? Nice to meet you." He says, "I'm the father." I know. Yeah, you've been. I got you. It was very dry. My father. I'm the father.
I think it's I've heard you, well, we're going to talk about how you got the part in The Sopranos, but I've heard you talk about how important you lost your mother early. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry. And your grandmother was a very important person for you. Is
She
that
was a
so?
powerhouse. A powerhouse.
How so?
Well, I'll tell you. She and my grandfather owned a embroidery and lace company in New Jersey, and 63 people. They had a big business, and then it
Hmm.
scaled down, scaled down, scaled down. But my mother was diagnosed at the age of, I want to say 37, close to 38.
Oish.
Once that diagnosis came in, the entire dynamic changed. They used to live with us, our grandparents, but not elderly grandparents. They were
Hmm.
sharp, get up, they went to business every morning, but it was a huge house.
Hmm.
The entire dynamic changed. The mood in the house changed because I think it's not going to go well. You just know it. My mother was not a complainer. My
Hmm.
mother drove herself to her own cobalt treatments every morning, drove
Hmm.
herself, then would go shopping after. So she passed, and my mother was an only child, which made it a lot worse.
Hmm.
So here I am now. I'm 14, just turned 14. My brother was almost 5, and here are my father and my grandparents raising me. Um, but my grandmother was a dynamic force in my business life, and she never saw me get to this point as an actor. But she just said to me, she said, you're special. You're special, and don't ever think you're better, but you're special. So the things you're going to do
Hmm.
are not going to be normal things. I used to go, Mama, stop. What are you talking about?
Do you think that she is, I think she might be part of the reason that you have this incredible respect for women. And I mean, I love the way you speak of your wife.
Thank you.
And I assume that it's the way you treat her just because of the way
We,
you always speak with her and with such high regard.
I do. And look at you. Look at you. You're an ambitious woman. You do what you enjoy. You have ingratiated bold faced names. It's a big accomplishment, Vicki. The big accomplishment. What I have a problem with is when I have seen women striking out saying, well, you know what? I'm a woman. I should be doing this. I should be. If you want respect, you got to go grab it. You got to grab my mother, my grandmother, my other grandmother. They were all in business back in those days. They were. You couldn't get a bank loan for Christ's sake.
Right.
Somehow, some way,
Hmm.
all became successful, and that's what I respect about women. I respect when they just go and take it. Look, I did it. I love you. I love you. I don't, but men too. I don't like whiners. You get guys who say, well, if I would have had the representation I should have had, I'd be a father. Bullshit. Oh, bullshit. This is America. Wake up. Go grab it. You'll be all right. Stop complaining. That's what I love about women. I love women who take, but take in a good way.
But you're also very protective and nurturing, supportive,
Uh,
res
Vicky, we just
respectful. You're all those things.
we buried a student of ours last Saturday.
I'm so sorry.
A girl, she was 34.
Oh,
She was diagnosed with breast cancer when she was 26.
oh
They wouldn't give
gosh.
her a mammogram. They said, you're too young, you don't need one. She said, I have a little blood over here. I want a mammogram. She pushed, they finally gave her. Choreographer, backup dancer for J-Lo, backup dancer for Madonna. San Francisco 49ers cheerleader. I'm going to give you her name. You're going to look her up on Google. She spent 8 years at stage 4.
Oh.
She was fat. I met her a year and a half ago. I said, do you ever have any interest in acting? Oh, my God, yes. I said, well, you come. You come.
How did you meet her?
She was being interviewed on a talk show. And it said on the bottom she was being treated at Hackensack University Medical Center. And at the time, I was on the foundation board. So I said, well, how do I reach this person? Because there's something about her. There's something about her. Blah, blah, blah. I went on Instagram. She was right there. So we made contact. I invited her to our Saturday class. She came in with bells on. Never had nothing. She, you know what she did? She did a scene where she played Ginny Sack in a meeting with Tony Soprano and Silvio, who were also played by two actresses instead of two men.
Wow.
And did it well.
And they did this on Zoom?
No.
No. Oh, in your living
room. And then I had it filmed.
Wow.
But the point I want to make is this girl never not smile. She never not encouraged somebody. If you mentioned to her your ankle hurt, that was the big deal of the day. We got to help Billy's ankle. This girl had fucking cancer. You wouldn't believe. But I'm going to give you the name, and you're going to look her up, and you're going to go, oh, shit.
Go ahead.
Olivia Hutcherson, Hutcherson.
Okay, I'm going to look her up.
You YouTube her or whatever you want to do. But the point being, nothing kept her down. This is a very frail little girl, petite, a dancer, ate well, ate the whole bit, and had a very, very abusive relationship. I never met the guy. Physically abusive during cancer treatment. I mean, how bad can you fucking get, all right? But the resolve of the female is something that I've always been in awe of. In awe, I swear to God. Because, listen, the great Alan King.
I loved Alan King.
He told a joke in his career. He only told you stories. But he did a classic story it was called Survived by His Wife. He used to take the New York Times obituary and start to read Herman Fine, West 48th Street, about 94 years old, survived by his wife, Irma, 102, because they last longer, stronger. I'm telling you the truth. I grew up with this, but I didn't grow up with women who didn't want to be feminine. They were very feminine. They were very strong, and they were very successful. But they didn't lose the girly thing either, though. That's how I felt.
Wow. Okay, so let's go back to how you became an actor. So you're in this business. You followed in your grandmother's footsteps. You're a businessman. You have this sort of dream. You're watching Turner Classic movies. Mm-hmm. Maureen says, "Okay, go do this thing. Go follow this dream."
That's right.
And what happens?
What happened was I went to my very first acting class on West 58th Street, opposite corner from Carnegie Hall. Was Michael Moriarty's pre-war gorgeous frigging apartment. And I said to you, what am I doing? Why, is this going to cause me somehow, some way to be a character in a movie or television or on the stage? First of all, I'm a stage fanatic. I could spend the next 24 hours of my life every day on stage as a character. Film is wonderful, so is TV, but there's something about being on stage. Mm-hmm. And as I said to you, I didn't do very much in the beginning at all. His notes were very sparse. His criticism, if you want to call it that. But I'm going to tell you one thing that he taught me. And when I say this to people, they think I'm insane. They said, what did Moriarty teach you in 3 years of you going there? I said, well, he taught me how to breathe. He did what? He taught me how to breathe. What are you talking about? He taught you how to breathe. Won't you take an acting? Yeah, he taught me how to breathe. Now, here we go. He studied with this guy where was he? Minnesota, Guthrie. This guy, can't remember the first name. He was supposed to be like a guru, like Lee Strasberg. Mm-hmm. He took Moriarty on. Moriarty spent 4 years there learning how to breathe. I know this sounds stupid.
No.
But watch me now. I'm going to give you an example. You see, you ever watch those crazy movies from Canada? What is the Hallmark, the channel? They got these stiff actors. Well, Bill, I whatever it is, right? And, the shoulders come up, they draw the breath, right? If you see it the way you and I are speaking, we have enough breath in our stomachs to just talk. Just talk. That's all you got to do. Listen and talk. Don't try to get a big deep breath. Now you'd say, yeah, but that's easy. No, but it's not easy. It's all about this. It's the breath. It's
Interesting.
Always the breath. Because listen, your husband nudges you early in the morning. He goes like this in the bed, right? Vicki, what time is it? 6:10. You had enough air in your system to say 6:10, didn't you? You didn't have to draw a breath, did you? You see, that's what separates realism from the fake bullshit. This is what I did for 3 years. Oh, while I was working on characters, of course, but he would catch you. He would catch you. You're trying to come out with too many words in one breath. He'd stop you in a heartbeat. How come you're not breathing? Oh, shit, he's right. I wasn't breathing. Therefore, it wasn't real, was it? Let's try it again. I know, this is surreal, Vicki.
No. This makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it's about breathing. It's also about, and I tell all my students is, listen, you just did a 3-page scene. What happened? Was this character born into the 3 pages and then he's going to disappear? He dies. Where was he before he walked into the scene? I said, well, was he getting his keys? Was he late to go to the bank before they closed? Then he came in, he did this. Where's he going after the scene? Everything has a pre-life, a life, and an afterlife.
Right.
I said, yeah, this character didn't exist in 3 pages. He's old, whatever he is. He's still, where is he? Where? And it's another thing too. Why do you stand in place and deliver a line? Or you stand in place? Do you ever wait for, I went to school in Manhattan. I had to wait for a subway. I didn't stand there like this waiting. I'm looking around. Where's the train? There's a pretty girl from the high school. She's over there. Blah, blah, blah. You do things while you're waiting, don't you? So how come the best thing is they come in with 2 bags of fake, make-believe groceries into a scene. Oh, hi, Mom. How are you? Just dropped the fucking groceries. Be aware of what's involved. That's all I asked them.
My favorite actors are the ones that you watch when they're not speaking, right on stage, right?
Exactly.
You go see a play, and it's the ones that have no lines.
That's
but
it.
They're right.
That's
but
it.
they're.
That's it. Brando did it. Brando did it. In the audience was Eli Wallach, Martin Landau, Wallach's wife Ann Jackson. Back in the late 50s, they go see some off-Broadway play. They're all there. I don't know if Lorette Taylor. They're all in the audience. And it's a scene like in a farmhouse at a dinner table, a family, a farm family. They're talking, they're eating, they're talking. Then there's a little staircase behind. And they see a guy come down about the first 5 minutes of the first act. The guy comes halfway down the steps, young guy, sits on the steps. Does nothing. Does nothing. There's no dialogue. They're talking about him, but not to him. Right?
Right.
The play finally ends. They're all out on the sidewalk. Wallach, his wife, Martin Landau, Barbara Bain. Who the fuck was this kid? What? Who was it? You saw he sat there. He didn't do anything. It was Brando.
Wow.
It was his first play.
Wow.
And he just knew how to be there and do nothing. You know how odd that is?
Wow.
So consequently, everybody's going, what'd you think of the play? I don't know. I forgot. I'm just watching this kid the whole time. He mesmerized you because he did nothing.
Wow.
All right.
Okay, so let's talk. So talk about being nonchalant about things. I know this story. So you've had a few acting roles. You do your own movie, which you're gonna do bigger now, which I think that's absolutely thrilling. Do you have a cast in your head, by the way?
I do, actually. I do. We're getting there. But you're always welcome, my dear.
Is there a part for a blonde?
Because I write,
a fake blonde?
I write as I go along.
I
do.
I like it.
Absolutely do that. Yeah. I
like it.
You fly in, Zippy, and we got you.
Yeah. I'm buying my ticket.
I'm not kidding you. I don't BS. You know that.
I can tell that. I know that about you. All right, so you've done some stuff. I think you did Law. Did you do Law and Order? You did Law
I
and
did
Order.
Law and Order because
Yes.
Moriarty got me the part. That's how I became a SAG actor. Then, of course, many years later, I
Did
did
it again.
yeah. Now I'm a recurring judge on SVU.
Right.
So,
All
which
right. So now it's coming time. Now the way you get the audition for The Sopranos is through Tony Sirico, correct?
no,
No?
no. I had an agent, a woman agent. She was, a very small fish in the pond.
Where's my thing?
And I was doing an NBC movie of the week with Chris Null called Exile, where his character from Law and Order punched out a New York City councilman. They exiled him to a precinct in Staten Island to look for a twin girl committed suicide. It's a 2-hour television movie. Dabney Coleman's in it. I forgot whoever, whatever. We're filming on Staten Island. The girl calls me the agent. She says, listen, there's this character, Sopranos. Now, mind you, the show had not aired yet, first season. I said, yeah, I know Tony Sirrico, a friend of mine's got a part, to the bop, to the beep, to the bop. She said, well, I got an appointment for this guy, for Johnny Sack. I'm going to fax over the sides to you, the pages. I said, yeah, all right. She said,
Meanwhile, are you still going on Thursday nights to Mary Lou's at this point? Yeah. You are? Okay.
But I got to be honest with you. I said to myself, this sounds to me like a Bronx Tale meets Goodfellas. Nothing wrong with either one, but I kind of felt it was just going to be a garlic and oil, I'll say, a Guinea friggin' movie. And I wasn't interested. So
wow.
She made 2 appointments for me. I didn't go to either one of the 2. She said, I got them on the phone. They saw your picture. Blah, blah, blah. I got you a 3rd appointment. You're going to have to go.
Now, why are you resisting? Oh, because you think it's garlic and oil.
I don't. No, it wasn't. No, but it wasn't that. I was busy. I was shooting this thing with Crystal. I didn't have a big part, but it was a lot of work for me. And so what I did was what I did, Vicki? I ran home finally from the set of Exile, and I don't know. I changed my clothes. I had something to eat. I ran back into Manhattan, and I got out of the cab on West 72nd Street. They were doing some casting upstairs. And what happened was I got out of the cab, and I was a smoker. I said, no, fuck this. I'm going to light a cigarette. I want to relax. So I'm looking. I'm on West 72nd. There are puppies in the window of a pet shop. Over here's a great shoe store. I'm looking around. I light the second friggin'. I'm already late. Finally, I said, okay, you know what? I want to turn off the noise in my head. Let me go up to this audition.
Is that your MO, Vincent, to be late, to be kind of like that?
I'm an early guy. I'm an early guy when I'm enthusiastic. I'm always early. No, I'm always early. But listen, nobody knew me. I'm going like, they're not going to give me the friggin' part. What am I killing myself here for? But I went upstairs and I walked into this giant room, and there was only one person in the room, and she's like in the middle of the room at a desk. And she's got pictures and resumes. She's got glasses on, She's looking down. She didn't even look up at me. She heard me coming in and she goes, you're late. I said, okay, yeah, not a problem. I'll leave. Hold on. They send you the pages? Yeah. All right, sit down. I'm going to read the scene with you. Okay. We read the scene once. It was about 5, 6 pages. She said to me, it was a Thursday. She said, I want you to meet somebody Monday, but you're going to be going to Silver Cup in Queens. Okay. 11 o'clock Monday. So I get there. I'm early. I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I can see all these guys' names. So-and-so for Johnny Sack. So-and-so for Johnny Sack. Callbacks, So I'm sitting there, I'm listening, Vicki, and everybody's screaming. I know the dialogue, I memorized it, and they're all screaming these lines. I'm going, oh, shit, that sounds terrible. So finally they said, Mr. Curatola, you ready? I'm ready. So I walk in. I said, well, this is Mr. David Chase. This is so-and-so, producer, so-and-so. Hello, how are you? They're all sitting on a couch. There's an easy chair. They said to me, the reader said, you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. We begin the shot, the scene. I start to whisper. I'm here fighting now. They're leaning over. They said, okay, thank you. Amen. And I remember.
Now, was this something that you had
I figured. I said, if a guy's powerful, why the fuck is he screaming? Maybe I'm going to tell somebody.
Very smart.
Do I have to yell at you? I'm going to kill you. Done. We're done. So that's how I did it. And the next morning, Vicki, 11 o'clock, my agent called me and said, they offer you this role. It's okay, good. So, but it's a one offer, no problem. Whatever. One is better than none, right? But it turned into what it turned into. That was it.
And so, from what you've said, they didn't tell you who Johnny Sack was. They didn't give you a character. So how did you create? Did you create the before life? Okay, this is who Johnny was.
Yeah, I did. But I'm going to tell you something. Only on set. When I was home or on the way to shoot those couple of days, my first couple of days, I didn't think about this guy at all. When I got there and I got into my trailer and there's my wardrobe for this scene, that scene, whatever, then I said to myself, yeah, this guy, he wants something from these Jersey people. He wants to go back to New York and say, hey, I grabbed a piece of Jersey. This is a feather now in my cap. Don't forget that, blah, blah, blah. But I have to tell you, you bring that up. Subsequently, there was never any preparation. It was the kind of thing where you went on the set, and I went on the set for years, knowing, of course, completely memorized because you cannot mess up in front of them. And you would hear action, you go, oh yeah, Johnny. And like Johnny would start talking to me, and then I just was Johnny. And I wanted.
Did you have a method for that for learning lines? I mean,
yeah, you know what I do with lines? I say them out loud to myself, Vicki, the same way. When you're a kid, you learn how to say prayers. Mm-hmm. You didn't read them because you were too young to read them, but you kept hearing. So I would use muscle memory, whatever the line might be. Tony, you sure you really want to go down this road? Tony, you sure you really want to go down? So finally, your lips will do it, even if your mind blanks out.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And did you make a decision? Like, how did Johnny Sack feel about Tony Soprano? Because to me, it looked like we talked about this last time, and I told you I re-binged the whole thing, and
yes,
just as brilliant today as ever, and maybe more so even for me. Did you guys decide together? Did you decide on your own? Because it seemed to me you had great love and respect for each other.
We did. And I have to tell you something. Not once did Jim or anybody else on the show ever walk up to me and say, hey, you want to run lines before the shot? No. And I certainly never asked anyone to do. He was memorized. I was memorized. We would just go for it. But within, of course, the context of you were not permitted to ad-lib even a syllable, Vicki. Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. Not a word. So he's locked. I'm locked. Now we're going to go. Let's see what happens. And I think that was the brilliance of the fact that the writing, as I said to you, was so descriptive and so specific that it was hard not to be that character. So we never rehearsed. I mean, you would have a camera rehearsal when you got there in the morning, only for blocking. Other than that, nobody got together off to the side. Well, let's run line. No, man, what are we, like, we're in high school? I know what I'm going to say. You know what you're going to say, so let's do it. I'm serious. That's the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I never, as a matter of fact, oh my God, we had so many conversations, me and Jimmy, about, you going to that benefit Saturday night? They're sending a car. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go to ask Maureen. But this was the conversation.
Right.
It was never about the character. When I my hand to God, it was never about the show. Never.
Wow.
Never. And something else? I was trained this way, and Jimmy was. I was trained to take the ball, football game, go over the goal line. If I got to destroy 4 guys in the interim, I'm going to destroy them, because it's up to me as the actor to deliver that message, to get the ball across the goal line. So if you ever hear an actor say to you, oh, you're not giving me enough in this scene for me to work off. That's bullshit. You got to work off yourself. You have to be convinced enough of the character. You don't need anybody standing in front of you. The great Rod Steiger, who I had the pleasure of having conversations with.
Really?
Waterfront with Brando. They did that fabulous scene in the back of the cab, two brothers. You should have latched out to me. You're my older brother, blah, blah, blah. They did the two shot. They did Brando. Then he tells Elia Kazan, I got to go see my analyst back in Manhattan. They leave Steiger alone. Steiger does the whole thing with a script girl. You didn't have to give him anything. He already had what he wanted.
Wow.
That's craft. That's craft.
So what do you do when you catch somebody acting in your workshop?
I bust them out immediately. And I tell them all the time, well, are you a dance act? What are you? Are you a singer? You're not acting. You're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So why don't you stop trying to get attention?
And have you seen these kids, these young adult,
I got all ages, yeah.
And are you able to coach somebody to stop doing that shit?
Absolutely. I'll get them if I see them. I think they're running too hot. Let's put it that way. I'll make them sit down or stand outside and do something, or I'll make them sit in the front of the class for 5 minutes. And you got 15 people staring at you, and I say to them, what do you look like when you're alone in a room, at home, in your bedroom, in your kitchen? What do you look like? Are your shoulders really that squared? Do you really hold your stomach in like that when you know damn well nobody's looking? No, well, that's what I want to see. And we'll start there.
Wow. I love it.
It works. I believe it works. You just boil them down till they're hardly even speaking anymore. Then we can begin.
Wow. Okay, so now you're going to approach this character in Dearly Beloved that you played a long time ago. Are you gonna have, do you have a different approach? Do you have a different?
You know what? I'm gonna be in it, but economically be in it. There'll be somebody else in the role that you saw who will be my son, and unfortunately he took after me as a gambler, but he's got a heart as big as the moon. So you'll see me in there a little bit, but
oh, you're not going to play the central character?
No, I won't. No, he's too. I'm too old. I should already have my life in place. I'm saying that this guy's got to be about 30-something years old, But I have so many tricks of the trade been told to me by my funeral director friends already. I'm just so anxious to do it now.
So are you updating the script?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm digging out the script I had originally, which was way over an hour, but we compressed to 29 minutes so that we could submit to festivals back then. We won a couple in Manhattan, but no, this is the 1 hour and probably go over an hour script version.
And I assume you're going to direct it.
Yeah, this I will do it. Yes.
Well, this is very exciting. I'm looking forward to this. I'm very happy for you. And there will be a trip to Italy in your future.
Absolutely will be. Absolutely. And there'll be a trip for you to New York and northern New Jersey. I'm trying to take you out to dinner, my girl.
I would love that so much.
You give me, I don't care what you do. You give me a week's notice. We will meet you.
And I would love to come and be in person in your workshop. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been.
It's a beautiful home. It's in a cul-de-sac. It's very tranquil here, and that's why the work gets done.
I would love that so much. Vincent, thank you so much for.
I love you, Vicki. I really do.
I so adore you. I can't even express to you how much it means to me that you'll jump on Instagram and just shoot me a little note. You're just always encouraging.
I love ambitious people. I love beautiful blondes. I mean, come on. So there we go. I say it in front of my wife.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful trip, and I hope Maureen's shoulder does.
Yeah, we're going to do that early January. It's going to be a little tough, but we'll get it done.
Have a Merry Christmas.
God bless you. You too and your husband, everybody.